And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
And today we're looking at the second expansion for Cyclades Titans. Now, what's interesting here, I think, is that there's actually three expansions for Cyclades. There's Titans, then there's the C3K, which lets you mishmash it with Kemet.
That's right, the monsters from one used in the other.
And then there's Titans. Now, I have not played Hades. I don't think you have either.
I have not, no.
So I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, are we missing something? But then we read the rules for this, and it said that you can combine it with Hades, but they're just not the smoothest thing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, then who cares? So we're coming at this from that perspective, though, not having played the first expansion.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to stand on its own for the review.
So let's take a look. Okay, this is the board for the original game, which is actually made up of two boards put together with three. So we're going to get rid of all three of these boards, and we're going to show you the boards for the expansion. This is one side of the board. This is the 3 to 4 player side. It shows it's one giant island with a couple small islands, and then the other side is two large islands with a couple small islands, and this is for 5 to 6 players. That's right, 6 players can now be played in this game. They add a 6-color purple. However, if you play with 6 colors and you need 6 players, you need to play with teams, 3 on 3. And you can also play with teams 2 on 2 in a 4-player game. Or you can just play with less than 6 and get to use purple. Now, you'll notice that on this board, there's spots for the cards over here on the side. And we'll talk a little bit more about cards in a bit. But there's not any spots for the gods and for bidding. And that's an extra board. So the size of this gets much larger. So we'll take a look at this extra board here. The reason that this board is as big as it is because there is now another god in the mix, Kronos. So you'll mix these up, and if you're playing a 4-player game, there will be 2 of them which are not able to be chosen each round, and if you're playing a 5-player game, then 1 of them is not chosen each round, just like the original game. So now let's talk about the new god here. The new god here is Kronos. And when you win Kronos, which is something you're going to want to do, you're going to be able to buy a Titan for 2 coins. You also get a free building of any tile that's above Kronos. So in this instance, if you pick Kronos, you'll be able to take a port or the market or a temple when you take Kronos. Or if for some reason Kronos is at the top, then you get a free Titan. So where Kronos is matters based on the buildings you get. Titans. Now, Titans are wonderful. Okay, let's show, here's a couple of the regular purple troops on the board. And now, here are 3 Titans. And each of the Titans has a different mold. The molds match with some of the colors, but still, the Titans are big and giant. Now, Titans count as their own, as a regular troop. They can move across ships, but Titans can move on their own. As long as you don't bid on Apollo for when you're playing the game, you can always move them. You can pay a coin to move Titans, or you can pay 2 coins and move Titans twice, or 3 coins and move them 3 times. That's actually cumulative. It would be 6 to move them 3 times, the first movement. So if you have a Titan in a region and a pile of troops in that region, that Titan can go and move into another region and attack that region. There's nothing really special about Titans. They're not technically regular troops, so they don't attack. They can't be affected by some of the special cards, but they do allow you a lot more maneuverability, and a lot more fighting is going to happen in this game. Another reason a lot of fighting is going to happen in this game is at the beginning of the game, you're going to place 4 buildings on the board, and there's different spots that show you. You'll randomly pick one of each type, and then players will do some bidding for where they want to go. They will bid on the gods, but instead of taking the normal god benefit, whoever bids first and such is going to be able to take the first spot on the board, and depending on which god they bid on, they'll get bonuses. So if you pick Apollo, you get extra resources. If you pick Poseidon, you will get extra ships. If you pick Kronos, you'll get a Titan, and so on and so forth. So with some buildings already on the board, people are going to be running and attacking each other quickly. Now, another thing you'll be doing in this game is there are 5 new special metropolises. Metropolises? I don't know. Anyway, you take 2 of them, and those are the 2 that you'll be using in this game. The first person to build a metropolis will take one of these, and you'll notice that there are spots here on the board to put those cards. They'll take the matching tile that match that, and they'll build that metropolis, and that metropolis will have a special ability. Like, for example, this one here gives you an extra 3 when you're defending with land troops. This one, an extra 3 when you're defending or attacking out of the city with ships. This one here just gives you extra resources. So there's 5 different cities, and 2 of them will be in each game. The first person to build a metropolis. So building one quickly is a good idea. There's also some new cards added to the deck of mythological creatures, except these cards are not mythological creatures. These are artifact cards. Now, these cards can never have their price reduced. They can never be discarded. And so you're going to want to buy these anyway. When you buy one of these, you're going to take the matching artifact and put it into one of your cities that you have. And then that city will have a bonus. Now, some of the bonuses are pretty obvious. This one here gives you an extra 2 resources. By the way, they all give you an extra resource. Sometimes they make your troops invisible, so you can move through enemy troops. Here with the winged sandals, you can fly out and attack other people from that spot. But what makes these interesting is when you put these in cities, they are not yours. Each of these artifacts, if they're yours as long as you control the city, but if someone takes that city from you, now they will control the artifact. So that's essentially the differences in this game. It adds the Titans, it adds the extra metropolises, it adds these artifacts, it adds a new god, Kronos. It has a very different board with more resources and easier ways to attack each other. It takes a little bit small emphasis off sea attacking, although ships are still important to get these resources on the outside and to go from one island to the other island or to these very lucrative little islands. So it's a very different game, but mostly stays the same. Do you think this changes the game at all?
I think it changes the game dramatically, sir. I think the new board is a beautiful thing. That's the first thing that impressed me.
Well, before we do that, what's your impression of the original game before the expansion came?
I like the original quite a bit, but it's not my favorite game ever. You know, it's not in my top 100. It's a game I enjoy, I own, but I don't bring it out all the time. I think one of the issues I had with it was that it felt very slow to get to do anything. The bidding's interesting, but if you want to attack some guy across the board, you really have to take time. You build the ships. You finally get over there. Or you get Pegasus. Fine. But it was a meandering game. It felt a little slow for me. I think this comes in there and wrecks house.
Yeah, I like the original game also. I liked it probably a little bit more than you did. Mm-hmm. I like Kemet, which was its sister game, even more because of the combat. I thought the bidding in Cyclades was interesting.
Right.
But this game, for me, just really raised the bar on this a lot. To the point where it's almost not equal to Kemet, but pretty high.
I mean, I enjoy Cyclades more than Kemet anyway. Base game for base game. And this just kills it. It raises it up so much for me. I think it truly makes it a game that now I can see myself bringing to the table with a lot more frequency. I love the board, as I was saying, and I love that the game basically added a lot of flavor and not a lot of rules. It adds the Titans that do something beneficial, but without hammering you over the head with a bunch of new rules. I like the board. Just the way things are laid out makes it a little bit more, get in there and fight. I like the cities now. Those cities, when the first couple of people to build a city, that city does something. That's just cool. That is like a duh moment. That's great. And that's a beautiful addition with almost no rules complexity.
And the artifacts.
The artifacts are another great thing. I love those.
Gives you a reason to fight over a city, right. Even if doesn't have a metropolis at it.
Right. And it stays there. It's like a monster that sticks around, right? That's what the people like from Kemet. One of the things people like from... I think that now this has that. They're not monsters, technically, but it's a power that sticks around. I just adore it.
Yeah, and I mean, we mentioned the monsters from Kemet that move around. Now you have something like that in the Titans. They're not like that much more powerful, but the fact that they can lead your armies and march them around. So attacking in this game is going to happen.
Right, you can just attack. You have the money, you can get in there and attack. now.
Getting those Titans is a big deal because it gives you maneuverability. And so when you're bidding on the different gods, I feel like there's more options now.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there obviously is one more option, and the positioning of where they are, it mattered in the original game, but it seems to matter so much more now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the fact that wherever he lands, you can take any building above that. So you take him at the bottom, he's great, he's anything, but you know you're not going to get a shot at those cards, at the mythological creatures. So that's a self-balancing issue right there. Great idea.
It doesn't add a ton of pieces. There's a 6-player, which is, what it is. But the Titans is what this game shines. The Titans/Artifact/Metropolis. This is the kind of expansion that, to me, really shines well because it adds some new things. But if I was teaching someone Cyclades, I would throw this in. I wouldn't even bother saying, well, we'll get to the expansion later. It's not hard to understand.
Right.
Easy to throw in there. And I love these maps. To me, this is a must-buy expansion.
I am right there with you. I think I probably would throw it in also. If I'm teaching a game that's this in-depth anyway, then yeah, I'd throw it in. Why not? You're not getting that much more complexity, and I think I'm right there with you that this is a must-buy.
All right, so that's Cyclades Titans.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
Yeah?